for here.
Use guest. You'll be fine. You don't need a password for guest. Guest. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm good. Yep.
Okay, good evening, everybody. New places, same faces. Do I hear a motion to come out of closed session?
I move we come out of closed session.
Thank you, Ms. Barber. Do I hear a second?
A second.
Thank you, Ms. Daskell. And a vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None? Okay, we are out of closed session. Mr. Mead, could you please read the certification of closed session?
Whereas the New Kent County School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative amended a recorded vote in accordance with the provision of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the New Kent County School Board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the New Kent County School Board hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in closed meeting to which the certification resolution applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in this motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the New Kent County School Board.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mead. Do I hear a motion to approve the certification of the closed session?
I make a motion that we approve the certification of closed session.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Daskell. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. McBeath. And a vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None? All right. Thank you for that certification. All right, good evening, everybody. It is August 1st. It's our monthly meeting in our location of the Board of Supervisors room. Thank you very much. It's nice to be here. It's taken us a while to get here, but we're happy for that. And hopefully it's been easy for you and your team, Dr. Nichols. And hopefully this will work out well for everybody. First item on the agenda tonight is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, section 3 on our agenda are recognitions. Our first recognition this evening is nominations to the 2022 VSBA, that's Virginia School Board Association, Media Honor Roll. Dr. Brian Nichols.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Swinford. Each year, the VSBA gives school divisions the opportunity to present a media honor roll. And each year, as I've been here, and I think prior to me, we have somebody that we recognize for this honor roll. So really want to recognize the New Kent Charles City Chronicle, and specifically Mr. Andre Jones. So Andre and I were emailing this afternoon. He can't be here tonight because of other obligations, but we really appreciate Andre and Mr. Jones and all of New Kent Charles City Chronicle for presenting and reporting on all sides of New Kent County Public Schools. We do have some locations that are interested in us when something is not as, the news isn't as good. And I challenge them every time to come and report on good news, bad news, everything indifferent. Mr. Jones always rises to that challenge and reports on all things New Kent Charles City. So really appreciate him, and we will recognize him with the VSBA for the Media Honor Roll resolution, and this will come before you later on for official board action. So thank you, Mr. Jones, and to the New Kent Charles City Chronicle.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next recognition this evening is recognition of Justin Henley, our National Microsoft Contest runner-up. Mr. Miller.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Every couple of months we get the opportunity to recognize students for different achievements, and usually those are at district, region, and state level. In this instance, we had a young man who this spring on our spring CTE testing scored a perfect score on on his Microsoft Word certification, which then he was invited to represent the state of Virginia at the national competition, and traveled down to Texas and in June and got second place in the nation for Microsoft certification testing. So I asked Justin to come up.
Good job, Justin.
Oh yeah, you want to come up, show them.
Do you want to come up to the front so that we can get the board behind you if you want to take a
So-
picture?
Yeah, I honestly didn't expect to get second place or anything. Went ahead and got a certificate or whatever from, people at Microsoft. I think it was like $1,500 scholarship. Medal right here for second place, and I think they also gave me an Xbox Series S as a prize as well. So yeah.
Very nice. Congratulations.
Justin, what classes did you take at New Kent High School to prepare you for this? I know it's part of Miss Manns was heavily involved.
I took her digital applications class where we got certified for Microsoft Word. She had mentioned something about the competition, and I genuinely didn't think I was going to be able to do it. But when I finally took the test, I apparently got a perfect score and scored faster than anyone else in the class. So since it was accuracy, then speed.
Right. It's proficiency and speed,
Yeah.
right?
So then I was nominated for the state, apparently. So after that, after the school ended, I think a week or so after, we went out to Texas for a week or so and did the competition.
Second place in the nation. There were only 2 Virginia students that placed in the nation, and we had the second place finisher right here.
So, Justin, I have to ask you a question. So the schools are a Google shop, and your award is with Microsoft.
Yeah.
Can you compare and contrast for me, or speak to that a little bit?
The thing is with Microsoft is it costs money from what I've seen, at least for the actual version, unlike Google, which you can just do online.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I've seen from Microsoft, it has more features such as like highlighting text to change the case. You can change up certain styles and such with the document, and it seems like it has more features and all than Google would.
So it's probably worth the investment.
Somewhat, yeah.
We have this discussion in our office all the time. So I appreciate your insight as a national award winner. Talking about the benefits of Microsoft, and you were given the award by somebody who does not see those benefits. So I'm sure he's going to come to the light.
Okay.
So thank you for representing us and doing such an awesome job. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Mom, do you want to take?
Did we get a good picture? Do you want a seal in the back? Come on up.
You want to come up the? Yep. Come right in front of Miss Swinford, so you're front and center. Yes, whatever Mom tells you to do.
We didn't get everybody. Sure. Thank you.
So now he can teach Mom a thing or two because we use Microsoft Word.
There we go.
Thank you very much. All right, our next item on the agenda, we're going to go to the consent agenda. Board members, by now you've had the opportunity to review the items listed on the consent agenda, including minutes from previous meetings and the superintendent's recommendations regarding personnel and student matters. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Make a motion. We approve the consent agenda as listed.
Thank you, Mr. Mead. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. McBeath. Board members, any discussion on the consent agenda?
Miss Winford, we have a little bit of
Feedback?
closed session left to do for student matters.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we'll remove you want me to read it again then? And I'll go ahead and, board members, by now you've had the opportunity to review the items listed on the consent agenda, including minutes from previous meetings. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
make the motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
All right, thank you, Ms. Daskell. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Barber. Board members, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move towards the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? None. The motion carries. All right, our next item is citizen comment period. Before we begin, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out this evening to speak. Please note that comments are limited to 3 minutes. Once the timer sounds, please promptly finish your comment and return to your seat. It is customary for the school board not to make comment during the citizen comment period. Please make sure that your contact information is provided on our sign-up sheet if you would like someone to follow up with you. And thank you again for coming this evening. Our first speaker is Mr. Tom Miller.
Madam Chair, School Board, first I'd like to comment on the fact that the school board does not respond to questions. I don't know whether that's a statutory requirement or whether that's a policy that you've adopted, but in some cases I think it's inappropriate for you not to respond. In some cases the superintendent responds for you, but not in all cases. But you have followed that to the nth degree. I'd like to bring up a number of things that have come up at the public comment sessions that have not been answered by either the school board or the superintendent. On several occasions, we have asked for information on the civics curriculum. That's been done several times by Mr. J.B. Benson. We have yet to see anything at any school board meeting or work session regarding civics. You were asked at one point by me to do an opt-in versus opt-out on some of the SEL instruction. There was no comment made on that, no response. We also asked if the school board would review the SEL curriculum because it was under review a couple of months ago, and the superintendent informed us that the school board does not have responsibility to do that, and that's the curriculum office that does that. But we asked you to take a look at that. Those are controversial. We've had parents go in and look at it. There is sexually explicit material in it, and I ask each of you to take a look at it. And you don't have to read or sit through all the lesson plans. Just have one of the administrators pull up anything that they think might be controversial and take a look at it. Prove us wrong. We've had parents go in and look at it. I don't like what they're telling us. You were asked if you read Governor Youngkin's Executive Order number 1, and if you read Julian Balo's report. No response. Okay. Most concerning was on the 6th June meeting, we had a parent who had a student in the high school, middle school, and elementary school. On the 2nd of June, Dr. Nichols and the sheriff, McLaughlin, spoke to the Republican unit about the safety in our schools. Excellent presentations by both of them. But 4 days later, a parent gets up and tells you that the middle school, you can walk right in. There was no response to that. Now, there's something in the budget, I believe, where you're going to fix the vestibule. But there was no response to it at the work session following that regarding that parent's allegation. I think you're deficient in responding to some of the citizen comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Our next speaker is J.B. Benson.
Madam Chair, members of the board, next year we elect supervisors. I must say, all of y'all do look the part. Don't know how interested you might be. Tom and I did not coordinate on our comments tonight. I think he's hit some of my points I intended to make. And this was the Executive Order number 1. It's an extremely important document. Ask whether you had read it, whether your teachers were familiar with it. If they're not, that's a failing. Jillian Balo's document, our commitment to Virginians, extremely important. It exposes something very, very troubling. SOL levels of achievement were changed about 5 years ago. And people who look at the SOLs in Virginia were misinformed. The gap between what the national standards are and Virginia standards are in proficiency is very dramatic. It's a scandal. I'm going to hand y'all just one page that shows you the difference. The gap between Virginia's SOL and the national standards is not 15 and 20 points. It's as much as you can see as 30 to 40 points on there. And I do still have hope that one day we'll hear about the civics curriculum. Y'all turned a bunch of seniors loose in June. They'll be voting in November. I hope they're properly prepared. And I hope you'll take a real interest in the civics curriculum. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Benson. Our next speaker is Mr. David Nobles.
Good evening. My first comment will be directed to Ms. Barber. Last year in September, my granddaughter, who was a student at Watkins Elementary, was sent home for 14 days because she came supposedly in contact with another student who had COVID. And she was sent home, and lessons plans were sent, but she's an elementary kid. There was no provision for instructions from her teacher or the school. My wife called you, Ms. Barber, because you were our representative on the board at the time. And your first question was, what business was it of hers? Well, she has a business. She's a taxpayer and a grandparent. And then you said you had no idea of what the county position was on providing in-home instruction for kids to sit home because of the COVID. Previously, we'd had the virtual learning and everything. So then she was instructed by you to either call the superintendent of schools or the chairman of the school board, of which she called both of y'all. My wife never received a call from you, Miss Winford, and she never received a call from your office. What she got from your office was a recording. No one personally answered the phone, but she left a recording, and she never got a call. You people are responsible to the citizens of the county. You should know what is going on in your schools and not just stand up here and rubber stamp everything that's passed by in front of you. We have a COVID still going around. I hope that you'll examine what the school policies are this year and make preparations for these kids if they are sent home like that. Not just lesson plans for elementary kids. High school students may do better with lesson plans just at home, but younger kids need instruction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nobles. And my apology, I don't recall getting a phone call from your wife, but we'll follow up on that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Our next item on the agenda this evening. Under new business, we have opening of schools, which is under essential goal number 2. Dr. Brian Nichols.
Yes, good evening again. It's hard to believe it's already an opening of schools presentation, the way our calendar fell. So I do want to bring you some information about the opening of schools. First is the shock and awe of this slide here. So September 6th, the class of 2035 walks through the door. That is pretty incredible. But they will be here on September 6th, but even quicker, they will be graduating. So it flies, but we look forward to the class of 2035. So not that you did not know this, but this is the first year we will be 5 schools strong. We are opening a new school. We do anticipate receiving occupancy by the time we have the work session. So that is the goal. We're moving along. That is a picture from a month ago, so it's been paved. They are moving right along on that project, so we're excited to welcome our Cubs on September 6th. As a matter of fact, there's an event at New Kent Elementary to meet the principal, popsicles with the principal, I believe. Our Quinton Elementary principal is getting out in the community. He's doing an event at New Kent Elementary tomorrow, and then George Watkins next week, I believe. So very excited about that. It's going to be one of 3 great elementary schools and one of 5 awesome schools in the county. Updated health guidance. So we did receive updated guidance from the Virginia Department of Health. I looked at the past 2 opening of schools presentations I've done for you guys, and I'm very happy to say I could delete most of the slides. So I think we've come a long way, and very proud of what we've been able to do. So updated health guidance, this is recent, and I did link this on the presentation too, so you can see the entire flow chart. I just pulled out some highlights for you guys. Probably the biggest shift, and we're very thankful for this shift, is children and adults do not have to quarantine if exposed. So in previous iterations of this, as the gentleman mentioned, that you would be home, depending on which version it was, as they updated, 14, 10, or 5 days for an exposure. So now the exposure doesn't necessarily mean you have to stay home, which I think is great for continuity and consistency with kids and adults, because this rule applied for kids and adults last year. So the quarantine is really if you're symptomatic and urge you to get tested. We plan to have test kits available to you as well. So if you do become symptomatic, we're able to provide a test for you so you're able to test and hopefully come right back to school once you're feeling better. So positive cases, this one of the most beautiful things about this upcoming school year is the rules are the same for children and adults. We had different scenarios and situations depending on vaccination status, which you have not heard me mention that. None of this is relegated to your vaccination status. So no longer do we have to go through a series of questions of whether you've had a vaccine or not, have you had a booster or not, what date it is. And so it's really the same pieces for everybody. So actually, if you click on the flow chart, which I won't do because it's very busy, all roads lead to return to school, which is what we want for kids as long as they're feeling well, and for adults if they're feeling well. So children and adults may return to school on day 6 if symptoms improve and no fever. So sometimes that is the case. Sometimes that's not the case. If you're not well, we do not want you here, but we do want you here as soon as possible. It does have in the guidance to wear a mask on days 6 through 10 if able, and if unable, provide a negative test and you can return as well. So you have options there. So that's the updated health guidance. I don't anticipate further updated health guidance before we open. I believe, coming from Virginia Department of Health, the governor, and the state superintendent, that this is the guidance that we will operate under. So we will communicate this to families. We had a meeting with our lead nurse, Julia Loveland, last week to make sure we had all our protocols in place so that we're ready. We know there'll be positive cases. We know there'll be quarantines, but we know we will navigate them. And we have a lot of pathways back to school quicker than 14 days or 10 days. Team New Kent staffing, if you've been reading any of the papers, either locally or nationally, you know that there's an extreme teacher shortage, and it's getting worse. The pipeline is getting smaller. Fewer people are coming in. More people are getting out. There are a lot of reasons connected to that. But I wanted you to know where we are right now. So I have our 5 strong plus 6 with the transportation piece. So George Watkins Elementary School right now has 2 current vacancies. One is a paraprofessional and one is a special ed teacher position. New Kent Elementary School, for the second time this summer, is fully staffed. So we're very excited about that. Quinton Elementary School has 1 paraprofessional position that is open. New Kent Middle School has 3 current openings. And if you know somebody or you yourself are interested, you can apply online at newkentschools.org. Throw that in there. We have a special ed teacher position, a para position, and 1 teacher position there. New Kent High School, currently there are 4 openings that we hope to really make a dent in this. We've been making a dent every time we come to a board meeting or work session, but really to try to round this out at the 15th. So we have 2 Spanish openings. That's probably the most critical area that we have right now at the high school. 1 art, and then 1 paraprofessional. So currently we're 8 drivers short of our full capacity. That is similar, actually a little bit better than we were last year. So as you know, we have a lot of people that can drive for us that don't drive full time, and it takes everybody, including our director of transportation, to pull this off sometimes. We have 1 that has passed the CDL test and is currently in training. We expect that person to be ready mid-September. We have 7 other people in the pipeline. So it takes a little while to go through this process with DMV. Nothing is fast at DMV. but we fully anticipate meeting our routes and the work that we have to do. It will take some of our other folks filling in and doing those components, but we are in better shape than we thought we'd be, and in better place than we were last year, with help on the way. So that's the staffing component, where we are right now. Very proud of the work we've been doing this summer on increased communication. So hopefully you've seen some of this. If you have not, hopefully you will see it moving forward. We're in the process of streamlining our websites. We want it to be 2 to 3 clicks max to get to the information you need. If you're on your 6th or 7th click, we haven't done our job, or you're lost somewhere on the internet. But we want to reduce the number of clicks everywhere to get to the information you need. Provide more timely information through a lot of different channels. We do have an integrated New Kent County Public Schools app. It is available at the Apple Store and at the Google Play Store. So that is really an app that is a version of our website, but you can get all the information, list your preferences, and so forth. This will be year 2. This is probably the most popular app we have, and that is a bus GPS app. So working with transportation, you know where the bus is, you know where the bus isn't, you know if there's a sub bus number coming, and so forth. We rolled it out last year after school started, and really became the hit of the year, I would have to say, from a communication standpoint. We have really increased our focus on social media. Ashley Meredith, who taught English at the high school for us and now is working with Mr. Terry in the technology department, has really done a fantastic job of bringing some of our social media to life. And you may say, why so many channels and so many different things? You have a different audience for each one. So a lot of us live on Facebook. So for our parents and for our parents and community members, Facebook is really a first point of contact. A lot of times you get a lot of your information on Facebook. So we have an updated Facebook page. We have really cool announcements about our board meetings that look fancy. And if you almost felt like you were part of summer more this year just by the updates that we have. New division Twitter channel. So we are now officially on Twitter. A lot of your education professionals are on Twitter. So the more you push out great information, they go, oh, what's this New Kent County Public Schools? They click on our website, they apply for a job. We no longer have vacancies. And we have some community members through Twitter as well. The division Instagram channel, that's where we're getting more towards the students. We are not on TikTok yet. That's actually where the kids are. But we're not there yet. But we have a new division Instagram channel where you get to see a really cool display of things that we're doing. And then we're also active on LinkedIn for obvious reasons. We want you to see the great things that are happening in New Kent County Public Schools, because if you're on LinkedIn, you're probably looking at employment opportunities. So I have a couple of examples where you can see how we've gotten brighter and bolder and just more consistent in our branding. So the one on the left is from Twitter. So you can see Shelly Pearsall, who's an artist, did an awesome Zoom with our Summer of More students. So you can see all that. We tag New Kent Middle School, so you can go right to their social media. And then we are very hashtag proud. So Team New Kent is on absolutely everything we do. NKMS Soars is the hashtag for New Kent Middle School. And if that means nothing to you, that is perfectly fine. But people do connect through those means. And then the one on the right is really just announcing a board meeting. So it doesn't have to be something in a classroom that's happening, just another way to catch your attention, mark your calendar, FYI, those different things. So that is a Facebook post. So very excited about the work that we're doing. You may also see that our schools have been more active as well, announcing new staff members. Quinton, GW, and New Kent Elementary have really been pushing that this week. Some important dates for families. So bus stop information, we're aiming for that open house time frame where you're coming into open house, so around that Thursday, September 1st. We do have a web query, which will be up on the transportation page. That alleviates having to make a phone call or having to look at a map. You just plug in your address. It tells you what time the bus is coming in the morning. It'll tell you what time the bus is coming in the afternoon. And you can plug in the level, so elementary, middle, high, so forth. Makes it a lot easier for families. And it's actually up all year. Once we load September 1st, it'll be there. So a new family coming in, you can always check and see what time your bus will be there. That connected with GPS app should take care of all your transportation needs. And if it doesn't, call transportation or Mr. Hockman, who oversees that. Open houses, those are going to be communicated directly by each school. So the schools are really taking care of the school-related communication. So if it's about New Kent Middle School, you're going to hear from New Kent Middle School. If it's about New Kent Elementary, you're going to hear from New Kent Elementary. If it's division, like a snow day, nobody likes a snow day. But if you do, you'll hear that from the school division. And the first day of school, I don't have to mention this, we are actually one of the few school divisions that are still post-Labor Day. And with this construction project, I am extremely thankful that our first day of school will be Tuesday, September 6th. I do want to announce an October town hall that we will be hosting at Quinton Elementary. It's going to serve a couple purposes. One, to talk about the great work that we're doing, talk about the work we're doing, have two-way communication with families and community members, and then also an opportunity to showcase Quinton Elementary and kind of walk you through and talk about what we're going to do at our other schools moving forward. So we're working on a date to finalize that. We are partnering with the county on that as well. So we're trying to do that in conjunction with the county because Quinton Elementary doesn't happen, our work doesn't happen without strong partnership with school board and board of supervisors. So we want to pull this together as a joint effort. So I'm working with Mr. Hathaway and trying to get a date for 12 individuals is not easy. So we're working through that piece, and hopefully by the 15th, the work session, I'll be able to provide an updated announcement. And something that is not on the slide, and it's late breaking, we're really excited about it. So one of our citizen comments mentioned Superintendent Balo. So I am actually partnering with Superintendent Balo on a data transparency project. So it is personalized learning plans for students. So what will occur is students take a fall assessment, all students in the state of Virginia, grades 1 through 8. So we will have the results of that data in October on how a student did. So any student that is not performing at level defined by the state, not New Kent County, we will communicate that directly to families in a template that we partnered with the VDOE in putting together. And then we'll also co-develop a learning plan for that student to get them to grade level. So it's one of the goals of the governor's office and Superintendent Balo is data transparency and partnership. We know when we have strong partnership with families, schools, families, community, we get great results. So I'm excited about sharing this information, which we do, but it'll be a more systematic way, and will actually be a pilot for the school division. There are a handful of school divisions that get this opportunity, so we can showcase what partnership and data transparency can really bring to a community. So don't have a lot of information on that, although that sounded like a lot of information. My first webinar, I think, is August 22nd on that, but did have good correspondence with the state superintendent going back and forth on this project.
That's great. Dr. Nichols, I can't ask you to speak for the superintendent, but is she planning visits to schools that you know of, she or the Secretary of Education?
So, of course, I took an opportunity to invite to Team New Kent. So she is planning her schedule, fall schedule. So I've invited her to kind of come see what we do, and then if we can connect it to this project, I think it's a win-win. I know she has 132 school divisions, but I'm trying to be towards the front of that line and I put in the email as well as the fastest growing county in the Commonwealth to see, plus a new school and those selling points. So
thank you.
You're welcome.
Board members, any comments or questions on the presentation for the opening of schools coming up? Thank you for that. It's nice to have it not so complex as in previous presentations. And flows, diagrams and flows. Board members, our next item is under old business. It's the Summer of More, Meaningful Opportunities for Real-World Engagement. An update on the Summer of More, which is essential goal number 1, to provide for and monitor the development of academic, organizational, behavior, and social competencies. Mr. Ross Miller.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Nichols, glad to come before you tonight and just give you an update on how Summer of More has gone. We just finished up 3 weeks of instruction for our students this summer. and as well as for our teachers. Summer of More, if you remember, is both a time for our students to learn and learn in new and different ways, but also for our teachers to have an opportunity to learn. So I just wanted to showcase some of those ways for you tonight. Before I do, I did want to just also recognize that this is the efforts that go behind this are it takes the whole division. Transportation put in a lot of time both planning routes, because there's a brand new routes just for summer based on just students who sign up. So they spend a lot of time doing that. School nutrition provided breakfast and lunch for every child every day. And so that staff put in a lot of work as well, and all of our administrators pitched in and did a lot of work as well to get this off the ground. So thankful for every department because everybody pitched in on it. So some of the different, just wanted to highlight some of the different programs we had going on. And there we go. All right, so at elementary, which met at the middle school, we did not meet at any elementary building this year because we knew that with the new elementary school opening, things would be moving around a lot. So we went ahead and had the elementary program at the middle school, and it was great. Glad we did because we had over 250 students. We pretty much filled that cafeteria over at the middle school day one. And so glad to have that big space over there. These are some of the classes that they took part in. Everything had either a math or a reading or science focus to it. And so students picked basically their first, second, third option that they would like to be signed up for. And then the administrators, which we had some administrative assistants who did a lot of work there, as well as the assistant principals did a lot of work on designing a 2-period day. So every student took part in 2 classes. And so I said, you can see some of the classes over there on the right and with like geometricity. That's the picture actually all the way to the left where they were learning about geometry, volume, area, and shapes, and they had to actually build a city. All sorts of reading clubs and reading activities there, and then Craftapalooza was an awesome opportunity to take part in different crafts from locally as well as around the world. One of them I'd like to showcase there on the bottom right is these students had to make a product and then develop a marketing plan for that product. So these students had developed birdhouses, and so that's elementary. Again, over 250 students. We had great staff, 13 teachers from across the division, 5 instructional assistants, and then 2 2 administrative interns that assisted us every day with that as well. So great program there. And then our middle school, high school program, which met at the high school. On most days, you'll see we even went off-site on some days. We had 14 classes there, and again, over 200 students. Everything from game design, which is that upper left, to Hathaway's Homesteaders that you see there in that image, where they had to learn different. They learned to make soap. They learned all sorts of homesteading type skills. The bottom right there is actually a survival class taught by 2 of our 7th grade teachers, and they're learning how to fish, and they learned how to make structures, how to build a fire, and but all sorts of skills that you need to survive out in the wilderness. The bottom left there, you have students making tessellations where they're building basically the triangles and then put them together, repeating to make a larger triangle. You also saw that in the social media post Dr. Nichols showed earlier, where Shelley Pearsall, the author, actually met with our students virtually, and that was on one of the last days of the program, and had a great discussion about her books that they had been reading in the class. Again, we had this for the secondary. We had 23 teachers who took part, which is just awesome, and they did a great job. We had 2 instructional assistants and 2 admin interns there as well. All of our admin interns are either working towards or already have their administrative license, and so this was an opportunity for them to sort of stretch those skills. The teachers, along with, as I said earlier, they were learning along with the students, and so we had, at the end of every Tuesday and Thursday, we had professional development sessions for them. And so these are some of the topics that they learned about was growth mindsets, goal creation, and then monitoring goals as they move along, both student goals as well as their personal and professional goals. Productive struggle and how to take risks, and then we ended with being a reflective practitioner and how do you look at what you just did and then make plans for the future, and how do you adjust on your goals there. So a lot of great learning for both our teachers as well as our students. It was an awesome event. It finished up this past Thursday, and looking forward to doing this again next year. This is one of the activities that we fund using our ESSER grants, and we do have funding already set aside in our ESSER grants for next year as well. So as we go along, even though these are grant funded, we are looking at how much are we spending and how could we possibly work this into the budget to continue years down the road. So happy to answer any questions you may have about this. It's been an awesome couple weeks. If you haven't had a chance to see beyond these pictures, if you can look on social media on any of the accounts that Ashley's been working on. If you don't have social media, then you can go on the website, and we have both our Twitter feed and our Facebook feed on there that you can look at them as well.
And I will say, board members, thank you, Mr. Miller. This started as an idea on learning loss and some creative ways that we can attract teachers and students in the summer, and has really become, at first it was what is summer more, now it's summer more. It's a full blown thing in our community with our parents, with our students, and you want to talk about excitement. Let elementary kids take over a middle school building. They thought they were big time, and they were. And of course the middle school staff was fully interactive with them, so they got to know some of the folks. And we each year we take some calculated risk and we try new things. So we added theater and some art things at the high school, not for credit, just we know that the past couple of years have been tough on students and families, so we wanted to offer some opportunities for kids to express themselves and create, and they put on a full-blown play. So they wrote, directed, cast, and performed a play in that 3 weeks, and it was awesome. And the high school kids mentored the middle school kids, and so a lot of great things happened that we know will continue to translate to great results. And I just want to say thank you to Mr. Miller and his team, who last year it really was all hands on deck, and we were all problem solving. And as something becomes part of the organization, it runs. So Mr. Miller and his team did a fantastic job of getting that going and making it happen.
Are a lot of the classes, the subjects tied back to standards?
Yes, they all have some sort of standards that they're tied back to, but then we're presenting them in just a very interesting and engaging way this summer.
Yeah, I know we had a family who lives near us attend, and they were so excited. I saw that actually two of the students, waiting to get picked up, and they really enjoyed it. And thank you to, the administration, the teams that staffed it, and the teachers. It's a wonderful program. I'm glad we'll be able to fund it in future years.
Thank you. Yeah, we are, and it's great because we also our teachers by the third week were already talking about their plans for next summer. So it'll be back.
Yeah, I can already tell you kind of the feedback on what they'd like to see the design. Last year the year before last we did two-week elementary things, and we got feedback from families and kids, and it was like, let's try 1 3-week, and is that better than 2 weeks? And so we have additional feedback from this, so we'll continue to tweak it and expand it and look at timing. And we divorced it from the July 4th holiday this time. It started right after that. That was not a good idea. So we have more participation, more consistent participation. So we have lots of ideas and plans moving forward, which we'll certainly share as we move forward.
And our participation increased over last year?
It did. Yeah, last year we had I think it was just slightly under 300. This time we were over 450. So yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Thank you.
Appreciate that update. Okay, board members, moving along to action items. We have one action item this evening, which is to consider the approval of the nominations to the 2022 VSBA, that's the Virginia School Board Association Media Honor Roll. Do I hear a motion to approve the nominations to the 2022 VSBA Media Honor Roll as presented?
I make a motion that we approve the nominations for the 2022 VSBA Media Honor Roll.
All right, thank you, Ms. Daskill. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Barber. Board members, any discussion on this action item? Hearing none, we'll move for a vote. Board members, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. All right, the motion carries. Next item is school board members and superintendent comments. Dr. Nichols, do you mind going first? Are you ready?
Not at all, Ms. Whitford. I'd be happy to go first. As we did the opening of schools presentation, I just want to thank again the school board, community, families, our staff, and most importantly, our students for everything they did to make last year a possibility. We're going to share some data at the work session, and I think what it will demonstrate is just the power of being in 5 days a week and closing gaps with kids and what we can do when we're all in it together. And also say how excited I am for this upcoming school year. It was nice to delete slides from an open in schools presentation. It is nice not to have conversations about this mandate or this, and really get back to, not that we won't have challenges and not that we won't, do some of the things that we, quarantines and so forth, but our primary focus is on a world-class education, and incredibly excited about that. And just a time flies comment. I'm excited and can't believe that I'm entering year 4 as superintendent. So I just cannot say enough what an honor and a privilege it is to call New Kent my home, call it the place that graduated an incredible young man who's going on to do great things as my son, and then just be the superintendent, live, work, and serve here. So just thank you, board members, and I will continue to provide updates and we'll continue to fight for all kids, and just appreciate the support and the leadership. Thanks, Ms. Swinford.
Thank you, Dr. Nichols. And I'll start down on my right. Ms. Barber, if you have any comments this evening, please go ahead.
Yes, I'm really inspired by the fact that Dr. Nichols has us partnering with the Secretary of Education, Barlow, with this pilot project, because I think this is really going to be very noteworthy for us to be able to measure where we are now and set goals and bring our students back in line that need to be back on their targets. So I'm looking forward to seeing that, and looking forward to seeing Secretary Barlow visit our schools as well.
Thank you. Ms. Daskell?
Thank you. I just was going over some metrics this week, and I thought it would be a good time to say thank you to Dr. Nichols and some of your team for bringing so many opportunities to teachers for their career advancement. Just looking over some of the things that you've accomplished in the past year is pretty impressive. So I'm very thankful for your leadership and the team that you've built around you. So I want you to know that. I'd also like to go on the record and say that I have read the governor's order, and we do get those updates from VSBA. So that is something that I feel like everybody should know. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Ms. Daskell. Mr. Mead?
Yeah, I think we all would agree as a board that we have to give credit where credit is due, that we're, starting a new school year with some incredible accomplishments over the last year, as we ended the year extremely well, even though the challenges that it placed for the community and for the board and for the administration. But we ended very, very well with students that were issued records amount of money for scholarships, and students that were placed in vocational positions and jobs, and students that are now going through orientation in college this year. And it's just a great accomplishment, and just to see how much our community has grown internally and some of the things that we've accomplished. And I'll go back to what Ms. Haskell said about, Dr. Nichols and his team. And, we're starting a new year with 3 brand new principals and 3 schools, 4 actually, I guess, in a way. And it is just it's a great thing to be able to develop teams and to see the teams grow, and with Mr. Hockman and Haney and her group, and Sean Terry, and seeing Ross take the lead in so many things. And it's just a great asset for our community in watching them grow as a board, that we sit back and we are able to engage and help through that process. So I'm looking forward to the school year. I'm excited. Fall sports has already started. Practice has already started. So we're looking forward to watching student athletes grow another year and to accomplish all that they have set out to do, and as we welcome a new senior class. So I am encouraged to watch and to see our community grow in this next year of all that happens. And I'll go back to just a brief comment on what Mr. Miller said during his time, is that at our last work session, one of the things that I was overly impressed with is after that parent had made a comment about safety, and we had some internal discussions as a board about that, and how we aggressively pursued more than $130,000 worth of money to upgrade. All of the security cameras in the high school have been upgraded. We have external cameras now in places that we've never had, and we have installed, beginning to install locking systems in our school systems that we've never had before. So I would take issue with Mr. Miller in saying is that we heard the parent, we responded to the parent, and we did something about it. And we did it aggressively, and we did it expeditiously, and the results are there. And so, and we did a good job of explaining that at the last work session. So I look forward as we continue to improve in those areas, and as we take that very, very seriously for our community and for our students. So again, I want to thank Tim Pollock and for all that he does and his team of making that happen, even through a time with supply chain issues, and as we still work through that. So I am grateful for an upcoming school year with a great set of parents that I feel like are supportive and encouraging, and a great board as well to work with. So thank you, Ms.
Thank you, Mr. Mead. Ms. McBeath?
Thank you, Ms. Swinford. I too, as my colleagues have echoed, am very excited about the plans for opening of schools this fall. I think one thing in particular, you read about the teacher shortage, that we're seeing across the Commonwealth. I think Dr. Nichols and the HR team and the building leadership have done a great job of selling the wonderful benefits of working with our students in New Kent County and the schools. So I think the numbers that Dr. Nichols showed really reflected that, and thank you for that, Dr. Nichols. It's much appreciated. And again, from my perspective, I am looking forward to a very positive year, more returning towards a normal year for our students, families, and staff. Additionally, one thing that I would like to announce, my Board of Supervisor counterpart, John Lockwood, we will be hosting a District 5 Town Hall meeting Sunday, August 21st at 3 p.m. at the Liberty Baptist Church in Lenexa. In attendance will be Mr. Lockwood, Mr. Hathaway, and Dr. Nichols and myself. So we look forward to engaging with the community and speaking with you and sharing our plans and all the wonderful things that are happening in New Kent County Public Schools.
Thank you, Ms. McBeath, and thank you
Ms.
for.
Swinford, I forgot
Yes, go
something.
ahead.
Can I add
Yeah,
one thing?
absolutely.
Mr. Mead brought it to my attention, and so I do get the privilege of working with an outstanding team. One of our newest team members is here tonight, and he would hate if I did not make him stand up, and we recognize him. So Mr. Richard Dermeyer is here. So Richard, if you'll stand up so everybody can see you. So Richard is joining our team. He's the Executive Director of Student Services, taking over for Dr. Clark, who retired today. Today is her actual last day. Richard brings over 30 years of experience, mostly in the world of social work, special education, and so forth. He's been here for a couple weeks now. He's already survived our leadership retreat, and he's hit the ground running with processes, procedures, and efficiencies. So I'm excited about where we're going to go for exceptional education, special ed, moving forward. So I apologize, Ms. Swinford,
No,
but I
absolutely.
didn't want Mr. Dermeyer not to have that privilege of standing up awkwardly
Yes.
in a board meeting. So, welcome.
Thank you for coming tonight, and welcome. We look forward to working with you. Thank you. Well, thank you, everybody. I certainly echo all my my fellow board members' comments and Dr. Nichols. And one of the things I will add is I just appreciate all the work that was done by Dr. Nichols and his team over the summer. They don't take the summer off. They work hard. They continue to work hard. There's a lot of new policies that we approve that will be in place this fall So we certainly are excited about the work that was brought to us for us to review and to vote on to make our schools better, to respond to the needs and requests of our students and our teachers and our staff. So I want to thank Dr. Nichols, his team, for the work on the policies that we had this summer. I know it's been a long time coming, and it was nice to have the opportunity for you all to work on that and for us to review it and vote on it so it can be implemented this fall. And yes, it's August, so the teams are out there practicing. It's amazing how the time flies. So we certainly look forward to school opening. It's exciting to have a new school. Drive by it often. It's just amazing. People that I run into that are aware of it, they're excited, they hear about it, and it's nice that this project is coming to completion, and we look forward to the update at the next work session. So thank you, everybody, for all your work this summer. Summer's not over yet, but yes, go ahead.
I would like to ask to the community at large if there's any specific topics or items that they would like us to cover during our town hall in October. Please reach out to either a school board member, superintendent,
Ms.
somebody,
Davis would
just to
also
let
be
us
happy
know
to
what those different
take those.
topics are. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. That's all.
Great. All right. Our next item is our upcoming meeting. Our next work session is coming up Monday, August 15th. We'll be back at the Historic Courthouse Boardroom at 5:30. Is our next meeting. And before we adjourn, we'll adjourn and then we will go back into closed session. Is that correct? Or
Board members, we can do the student piece since and that's completely on me. We can do that at the 15th meeting. It's not time sensitive.
Okay.
So, and we'll put student matters back on there and
Okay.
do it within. That way we stay in balance and don't have to recess, do all of those pieces. Perfectly fine. So I apologize.
Then we do need to go back to our consent agenda and do the recommendations regarding personnel.
Just personnel.
For personnel matters, we need to vote on that.
okay.
Ms. Davis, did we vote on personnel we did not.
Okay.
We did the consent agenda.
So-
I do not think we did the minutes or the personnel. Am I correct?
So, Ms. Winford, if you would like to do a motion for personnel,
Okay.
we can do the student matters
Okay.
on 15th.
So do I hear a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendations regarding personnel?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendations regarding personnel matters.
All right. Thank you, Ms. McBeath. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Mead. Board members, any discussion on that recommendation? Okay, hearing none, then we'll move for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. All right, the motion carries. All right, and that is our meeting for this evening. As I said, our next meeting will be on Monday, August 15th. That's our August work session at the Historic Courthouse Boardroom. With that, our meeting is adjourned at 6:29 p.m. Thank you.